All right, hi guys. Thank you for being here, and I apologize if there's a little bit of a lag between myself and the YouTube live stream. I've only done these a couple times, so please be patient with me if things don't work absolutely perfectly. So first off, I guess I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Jared Bruning. I am Technically, I'm a former American history teacher. I taught American history for the past, well, like 10 years at the junior high level, eighth grade American history. And currently, I'm in an instructional coaching position. But I haven't forgot what it's like to be in the classroom. And I may end up back in the classroom again. I do have a master's degree in instructional design and technology, and I guess I've started making these bell ringer videos because I miss teaching history and I want to teach history. And so this is kind of my own therapy of being able to share this and hopefully help out a few teachers here and there. So today, what I wanted to go over is, what my classroom routine was. And again, you're going to hear me say this several times. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's absolutely great and that it's what everybody should be doing, but it's something that worked for me. And I guess what I found, especially working with junior high students, and I know the same is true for high school students, is routine is key. Like setting up a routine so that every day when students come in, they know exactly what to expect in your classroom. And so that's what I'm kind of hoping maybe what I can show you here is a way to, at least start off your classroom or your class each day with the same routine over and over again. And I don't know, like for me personally, I had students, that would come in and complain and be like, oh, do we have to do this again? And it's kind of like they would complain, but you kind of knew they liked it. And a lot of the students would come to me and say, yeah, they liked it, that they knew exactly what to expect each day when they came into the classroom. And I'm not saying you don't have you can mix it up if you want. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to do it the same every single day, but it does help out doing it the same each day. Now, what I'm going to show you here is something that I know right now we're in such just a weird time in education. It's like, what do we do with all the shutdowns and with COVID and how do we go back to school and everything? And believe me, I don't have the answer to that. But I feel like what I'm going to show you today is something that you could use if you're in person, but it's also something that you could use if you're going to be doing some distance learning. I actually think this is a good routine to be able to use if you're doing like blended learning, if you're having students in the classroom maybe one day and then another day they're not in the classroom. So anyway, let me go ahead and jump here to my full screen view of what I've got. All right, and I'm going to be trying to keep track of what people are saying on the side as well. Yes, absolutely. Having a routine and bell ringers each day absolutely cuts down on discipline. I don't know how many students I would have come into my classroom that other teachers had just had a terrible time with the previous period. They come into my classroom and there was no problem because they knew what to expect. They knew exactly how everything was going to run. But let me jump over here to my full screen view, and I apologize again if I'm a little bit not too skilled at doing this. But here we go. Let me jump over here. What I want to show you here, this is my class website. All right, now I created my class website using Weebly. All right, and you can do this, and I guess before I even get started here, and I apologize, I'm kind of jumping around here. I'm kind of coming at you here basically looking at this from a perspective of a class that is one-to-one, basically, with every student having their own device in the classroom. And I know that's not everybody, but even if it isn't you, I still feel like some of these things that I'm going to show you are things that you could still use as long as you have a computer and you have a way of projecting that, or maybe having a big TV in your room to be able to put this up on the board. You can still use this stuff. But this is my class website, and like I said, I built this on Weebly. Weebly is a free site that you can build websites on, and I'm not going to say it's the most user friendly, but I mean you're not coding. Okay, I think a lot of times teachers get intimidated when they think about building a website because they think, oh, I'm going to have to learn how to do HTML and how to do all this coding and stuff, and it's like, no, there's all kinds of free sites where you just kind of build it on your own and you can just drag and drop stuff where you want it. I love Weebly because Weebly gives me a lot of design options. Now, also, as I'm going through this, I'm going to be talking a lot about Google Suite for Education. And like I said, I have a degree in instructional design technology, so I'm kind of one of the instructional guys for my school district. And if you're not a Google school, that's okay. But a lot of my stuff I'm going to be sharing here is like Google Docs and Google Slides. And if you want these things, and again, I'm going to share out links here in just a little bit when we get into this. If you don't have that stuff, just create yourself a Google account. Just go and make yourself a Gmail account, and then you'll have access to like a drive where you could save some of these things, and then maybe you could save them over to PowerPoint or whatever you want. So anyway, sorry, getting really techie here. But here is my class website. Each day, students knew as soon as they excuse me, came into my classroom, they could open up their Chromebooks or whatever device you have. They could open up their device and go to my class website. In fact, one of the very first things beginning of the school year, I would have them bookmark this page because I said every day you're going to be coming back to this class and coming here. And I love this because I was able to use this for so many things. I was able to share out notes. I was able to share out, my sites and everything. And then too, I even created like videos for students who were new to class because so many times I would have a new student that would show up and it's like I couldn't just stop everything to go over all the individual procedures. So I made little videos about, okay, this is the individual procedures for my class. Go to the new to class tab and do that stuff. But for my class, sorry, I'm getting off track. For my class, the routine that we would do is they would go to the daily bell ringer or agenda tab. And when they'd go to that tab, it would open up all of these weeks of the year. All right. And so they could go back and the thing I loved about this was a student could never come back to class and tell me, I have no idea what you've been doing. Because I could say to them, hey, I know you have that book, the thing bookmarked. All you had to do is click on the daily agenda. When they click on that daily agenda, it would open up my slide presentation that each day would show them exactly what they were doing. And so they go through and see, oh, okay, well, I got, I have that Ed puzzle assignment I need to do. We're going to do Quizlet this day and then, doing notes on this day and everything. So they could just go through and do that. Now, one thing I want to point out here, and I apologize if I need to look at the live stream, see if anybody's making any comments here. I have no idea what you because I could say to them, hey, I know you have that book, the thing. Yes, Google Sites. Yes, you could do all of this stuff on Google Sites. Actually, if I were to go back now, I might possibly just go back to Google Sites because actually part of my website, I built my notes page in Google Sites and then just attached it to my Weebly. So yeah, if you're using Google stuff, it's very seamless to be able to use those together. Now, let me go back here to my my slide presentation, and I'm actually going to share this out to you here in just a moment and give you a copy of this if you want to look at it. On my slide presentation, you can see, of course, I had, what we were doing for that day, and then, if there was any homework or anything like that. Now, one thing you might notice up here in the upper right-hand corner, and this might be a trick you already know, but this was a trick that just absolutely revolutionized my teaching. I just inserted a YouTube video timer. I use YouTube for so many things in my classroom. And so, when I go to present this, so if I go to view and present this slide presentation, beginning of class, I would have the students come in. I'd be just like, okay, today we're going to watch a little clip of this Lincoln Man or Myth. I'm in Illinois, so I'd be doing the Illinois Constitution, and so we talk a lot about Lincoln, and then we'd get into the Illinois Constitution. And so I'd say, okay, take out your bell ringer sheet, get started on your bell ringer, and I'd start the timer. And so now then I had time to be able to take attendance, to talk to the kid that had been absent for 2 days and trying to get him, where he's supposed to be. I had time to talk to that student who came in late, or the student that was asking to go to the bathroom. Because it's always those first 5 minutes of class are just such a pain. And I know you know what I mean. When students come in there in those first 5 minutes, it's just like it's coming at you from every direction. And so you got to have some time to get things reset from your last class period to figure out what you're doing. So this little 5-minute timer, was my lifesaver because I would just set that, let it go. The students knew they had 5 minutes to do their bell ringer. Okay, now let me go back here, and I may be jumping ahead of myself. Let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and share this bell ringer out to you in the chat here. Let's see. Here's my agenda. I'm going to share this agenda out to you. So if you want to make a copy of this, I'm going to go ahead and put it in here. Let me go to the live chat here. I'm gonna give you a bell ringer sheet too here in just a little bit. So there's a link to my agenda. Okay, so I made that should be shareable. So please let me know if that is not shareable where you guys can't see it. But that should be shareable. So now you could take that and make your own copy of it and start using that as well. And again, I apologize. There's a little bit of a delay here in between what I'm saying and everything. But yeah, I would put this agenda up on the board so everybody could see it very, very easily. All right, now the sheet. what I would do is at the beginning of every 2 weeks, because I only collected these every 2 weeks, but you could do this every single week. I had this bell ringer sheet, which was just a blank sheet. You know, you can see just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all that. And that's where they would write down their answers. I'm a big believer. It's like I love technology, but there's still a point where students have to do something written by hand. And I guess that's just, you know, I suppose I'm an old fart, I guess, because I still feel like there's important things that they have to do by hand. All right, so this is where I would have them do that. They would look at their stuff online, and then they would write their answers here on this sheet. So actually, let me go ahead and share this real quick with you. Let's see the bell ringer worksheet. And that's where they would write down. So I'm going to give you a copy here. I'm a big believer. It's like I love technology. Here is the bell ringer worksheet. All right, so again, I'm sharing lots of stuff out to you here, and I apologize if any of my kids come in here. I told them to stay upstairs for a few minutes while I did this. Hopefully they don't come in. But the sheet, you can see I did one big thing here, and I know this is just, you know, me maybe just, I don't know, I just thought this was a good idea, and it ended up working out really well. If you notice on my sheet, I have the same logo that I have on my agenda. All right, so here's that logo on the agenda. There's the logo on the sheet. And each week, and I'll go back to my website here. Oh, I didn't share out the link to the website, did I? Let me copy that and share that out as well. Okay, there's the link to my website as well, so that way you can take a look at that if you want. But if you notice, each week when you go to the bell ringers and you click on, you know, a bell ringer for that week or the daily agenda for that week, you notice it would have, you know, a different logo here. And sometimes I would have fun with it, like, you know, check your grades before the end of the year. And I forget who this is. Might be John Brown. That's talking about this, or no, it's War of 1812, so it's probably or Andrew Jackson. There you go. So Andrew Jackson. Now that same picture of Andrew Jackson would then be on their bell ringer sheet, and so that way, when they came into class, they had that visual cue of knowing, okay, hey, here is the sheet that I'm supposed to be answering questions on. They could see on the daily agenda, which I just closed that one. Let's see, that was 3, 4, I believe. They would see it on their worksheet. Then they would look up at the board and they'd be like, hey, there's that same logo. And, you know, there's all kinds of fun little clip art things you can find online to insert in there. But I would try to have something that went along with the theme of whatever we were doing for that 2 weeks. Like that other one when I was talking about the War of 1812, I had Andrew Jackson in there as, you know, the person on the sheet. Now, here's the other part of all of it. And I realize this might seem complicated, but of course they would have the bell ringer itself. So they'd click on that bell ringer. When they clicked on the bell ringer, I would have this document with hyperlinks on it. And so here you can see for Monday, 3-4, it says, go to link, Lincoln Home 360. Click through the tour and look around the rooms in Lincoln's home in Springfield to answer the questions. All right, and so then they would have a few questions down here. Now, you can see again, I've got that same logo on that sheet. So you can kind of see it brings it all together so that the students know exactly they're in the right spot. And so, you know, it makes it even more frustrating when the student would say, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, when you're like, I've got everything right here where you can see it. But here is the bell ringer sheet that I would share out. And actually, let me go ahead and I'm going to share this with everybody. I would have this document. And I apologize if I'm going too quickly here. And so here you can see for Monday, 3-4, it says, go to link, Lincoln Home 360. Click through the tour and look around the rooms in Lincoln's home in Springfield. Okay, so here I've got, you know, hopefully if you're opening up these different documents, you're seeing all this stuff. So on the bell ringer, and this was somewhere where I know that I could improve on, and I definitely feel like I could improve on this quite a bit. I did mainly just content, you know, general, you know, what am I trying to say? Comprehension, basically, is what I was looking for. I didn't do a whole lot of critical thinking. I mean, every now and then I would bring it in where I'd have a critical thinking question in there, and that's something that I really wish I could go back and fix, and that's something when I get back into the classroom I want to fix. But as you can see here, these links, you know, I just click on, you know, the Lincoln Home Tour, and it would bring me to, you know, this virtual tour where they could actually go inside Abraham Lincoln's house and look around and everything inside of Lincoln's house, and they'd click through these things and read the little things on the side to find the answers. All right, but each day, there you can see I've got this history of Illinois, and I say just read the first three paragraphs, and so then they know, okay, I come here, read the first three paragraphs, and answer those questions. Sometimes I would take text from websites and put it into a Google Doc, and just if I wanted to edit things out. And you know as well as I do, sometimes there's websites that have advertisements on them that you don't want kids to see and everything, so you sometimes have to do a little bit of extra legwork there to get it going. But you can see each day I would have a different reading or a different site that they would go to. A lot of times I would have videos as well. I mean, I found a lot of my students, yes, I want to improve their reading skills and comprehension skills, but at the same time, a lot of our students today learn so much from YouTube. I mean, YouTube and online videos is where students really learn a lot today. And so I felt like I would bring that in every now and then. So again, just to review here, kind of how I organized this. I would have my class website. Basically, every Monday I would update this, and on Monday morning I'd have to get in early to work, and I would set up, okay, here's my new agenda for this week, here's my new bell ringer for this week. The cool thing, of course, with those Google Documents is I could just simply put in my questions, and then I could go back and, every time I would update that document, I would update that each morning before school, and so the students wouldn't see those questions or the new bell ringers until they actually came into class, or at least the beginning of the school day. And actually, I'll show you something here on my class website. If you go to more, or actually you can look at this whole agenda, but I went ahead and I saved my agenda from the year before, from 2017, 2018. And so what I would do is a lot of times I would look at it and be like, okay, I'm in the middle of February. Where should I be right now? I could look back and see in my daily agenda where I was the year before, and then two, I could go back and start like being like, okay, well, here's some bell ringers. Like here you can see, like throughout Black History Month, I would have them do a lot of bell ringers that were focused on things in Black history, and you can see too there were days too if we had a test or something like that, I wouldn't do a bell ringer necessarily for that day. But what I would do a lot of times is at the end of the week I would have a quiz, and I would tell them you can use your bell ringer sheet on the quiz, and I would have a few questions from the bell ringers. I would have questions from any guided notes that we covered for the week, and I basically told them you can use whatever stuff you got as long as you've been here or you've been keeping up. You'll do fine on the quiz, and so it was kind of a way to keep them accountable that they, had to answer those questions on the quiz or on the quiz from their bell ringers. So each day when I would get done with these bell ringers, um, I would take that 5 minutes that I had on my daily agenda timer, go through it. Uh, then we would go through and talk about it. We would talk about the questions and go back and discuss them. And so it gave me an opportunity to cover stuff that I didn't necessarily get a chance to cover in the maybe in the lesson that I was doing for that day. Let me look back here at some of the comments here because I'm just catching up here after yakking about my setup here. I just give them one day at a time. Like I said before, I give them each morning. I would come into school and I would pull up a new bell ringer. And basically, what I ended up doing is, after a couple years of doing this, I had a huge bank of these bell ringer questions and readings. And so I would just simply go back and pull in whatever we were doing. Or if I knew, like that day, okay, I'm talking about the burning of Washington during the War of 1812, I'd go back and be like, okay, where was I covering that the year before? And I would find it, and then I would insert it into there. Some of that said, you only have X amount of time to do the bell ringers. Like I said, on my agenda, I had like a 5 minute timer that I gave students. Now, some students, they breeze through it like in 2 minutes. Other students, they would take the whole 5 minutes to get through it. But the whole time, of course, I took attendance. And in that 5 minutes, I had time to do attendance. I usually had time to, talk to whatever students were absent. But I was up circulating the room the whole time, going up and down the aisles, basically, checking to see, are you doing your bell ringer? And, that helped to keep the students on task as well. But still, it gave me a little bit of time, since I taught the same history class 6 times a day, where it gave me some time to reset and get things going again. Do you mind sharing the site? Hold on one second here. Let me get to my site again. I'll share it again here on the live chat. the whole time, of course, I took attendance. There's my and in that site. 5 minutes, I had time to do attendance. I had time to talk to whatever students were absent. But I was up circulating the room the whole time, going up and down. Okay. Checking to see but again, that's basically how I would organize the beginning of my class. And from there, I mean, that would generally take, you had 5 minutes for the bell ringer, and then I would talk about it maybe for 2 or 3 minutes with them, kind of, reviewing what they had covered in the bell ringer. Then I would spend maybe 2 minutes reviewing what we'd done the day before. So, in all, it was about 10 minutes at the beginning of class that the whole thing took. And I had 48-minute class periods. And so then from there, I would go into about, 15 to 20 minutes of either a lot of times guided notes or an activity. And then, of course, then the last 10, 12 minutes of class, students would have time to work on an assignment or work on a project or whatever we were doing. Do you have them turn in the bell ringers? Yes. What I would do is at the end of every 2 weeks, they would turn in the bell ringers to me. Now, and again, I know this is, I've been reading this book, Grading Smarter, Not Harder, and they really discourage this. But, I would basically collect it as a participation grade. Because I felt like we went over it together in class. It was an activity I was asking them to do together at the beginning of class, and at the end of the week with those quizzes, that kind of held them accountable that they needed to go through and do those bell ringers, because if they didn't do the bell ringers, they weren't going to do well on the quiz, and that was going to be the thing that was going to really reflect on their grade, was that quiz at the end of the week. So again, that's kind of how I would organize things at the beginning of class. And I feel like, as I've said before, I feel like the beginning of class is the key to the entire class period. If you don't start out the class period well, the rest of the class period is not going to go well. And I'm not saying that I'm a disciplinarian in class or anything like that. I'm very laid back and easygoing, but just simply having this routine at the beginning of class made students realize, like, hey, we got to come in and get to work. He's going to expect us to be doing this, and it kind of set the tone for the rest of class. Now, the other thing I wanted to jump in here and show you real quickly, and this is where, since I told you I'm an instructional coach now, and, especially since someone was asking how often do I update my site. Well, that site, like I said, I'm an instructional coach currently, and so I actually haven't been teaching American history for this past school year, and so it was the previous year that I had that site going. But again, that makes me think of something else. I realize if you go to my site, a lot of those, when you click on those bell ringers, it's going to ask for you to have access to them, or you're going to have to request access. Unfortunately, it's like I'm not going to be able to go back and fix all that access for everybody, because it was set so that it was only accessible by the students within my school district. So I kind of shared out a couple examples there that give you an idea of kind of how I did things. Do you just come up with questions off the cuff? Yes. For the most part, it was generally, yeah, I would look at, say, like, okay, this is what we're going to be covering for the day. I might look in the textbook and just kind of get an idea, okay, here's the standards that they're wanting us to hit. And then a lot of times I would just generally do a search online and find, an interesting article, or at least an article that I thought was interesting, or a video I thought was interesting, and then I would have them, use that as their as the bell ringer. It's like I would read it and then say, okay, just read these 3 or 4 paragraphs and answer the questions. But the other thing I wanted to jump to here real quickly, like I said, I'm an instructional coach now, and I've been kind of in my own personal therapy of not being able to teach history in the classroom, because I really love teaching history in the classroom. But I've started creating these bell ringer videos, which I kind of hope might be another tool in your arsenal of, like, okay, during the bell ringers, here you go, here's this, thing you could read this day on Monday. And then Tuesday, here's a bell ringer video that you can do that previews what we're going to be doing for the day, or maybe reviews what we did the day before. And so what I'm going to share with you here real quickly, let me go ahead and pull this up here. What I'm going to share with you is a link to my email list. And again, your email list, I understand your hesitation if you don't want to sign up for it, because I'm right with you. The more emails I get, the more I get frustrated. Oh, whoops, I'm on the wrong thing. Here we go. Here's a link to my email list if you want to sign up for that. And the reason I'm putting that there is because I've started sharing out some resources of things that possibly might be able to help out in using some of these bell ringer videos that I've been creating in your classroom. Because again, I think it might be a valuable tool, because the purpose of these bell ringer videos is not to replace what the teacher does. Because what I'm hoping these bell ringer videos do is they kind of give the students a brief summary of these main events, and then the teacher has the opportunity then to go deeper and to actually do, like, some of that project-based learning. Or, I mean, we're constantly being told the students should be taking ownership of their own learning, and so hopefully it would, free up more time for them, for the students to be able to do that, to be able to, like, actually do projects. And I'm a realist. I know there's some classrooms you simply can't do that, but hopefully these videos might engage them a little bit more, because like I said, there's so many students today that all they do is learn from videos. They go home and all they do is watch YouTube all night long, and so it kind of speaks their language a little bit more. Even though we're covering the exact same content you'd be covering in the class, it's in a YouTube format, and so it's kind of like more accessible to them and more in what they like to watch. And so what I was going to show you, and I'm going to share again, I'm going to go ahead and share another link here on here. And I know I just keep on sharing link after link after link. Hopefully you guys are getting stuff here. And again, I apologize if I'm going really quickly through some of this stuff. And yes, I see somebody just mentioned Edpuzzle. Yeah, I love Edpuzzle. I mean, fortunately for me, I started using it a few years ago when they first kind of came out, and hopefully a lot of you guys are in the same boat. You started using it when they first came out, and now I've kind of been grandfathered in, and so I don't necessarily have to pay for the service. But I know there's a lot of teachers that are like, it's another pay site, and it's like, you're in a school district that's, not paying for you to get these extra tools. I think especially right now with the situation that we're in with COVID and everything, it would be a great time to be able to use that. Let me get that link for that top. Let me see if I can get it real quick here. I see somebody's asking about top 10 reasons to teach history, and I know that was on my site, and that might be something that has been updated or changed since I put that link on my site. Let me see here. If I had it on the main page, I'm waiting for the page to load up. There we go. Not paying for you to get these extra tools. I think especially right now with the situation that we're in with COVID and everything, it would be a great time to be able to use. Now it's just wanting me to do a copy image. Let me see if I can go to the home one. Let me get that link for that top. Let me see if I can get it real quick here. I see somebody's asking. Yeah, this was a great presentation I found, and basically the first day of school, or one of the first days of school, we would go through this top 10 reasons you should learn about history in class. Shoot. How did I insert that? Actually, let me see here. Apologize. Let me look. Get back to this. I guess I'm sorry, Kim. If you, and I know I'm asking a lot here, but if you want to join the email list and send me an email, or you can send an email to the Daily Bell Ringer at gmail.com. And actually, I'll put that on here. Yeah, this was a great presentation I found, and basically the first day of school, or one of the first days of school, we would go through this top 10 reasons you should learn about history in class. Shoot. Actually, let me see here. And I apologize if my connection is really bad here. But if you want to send me an email of send me your email or email me, and I'll try to get that link for you, so that way I can get you that top 10 reasons. But let me get back to what I was doing here. And again, it's just like I'm in the classroom again. I'm getting like pulled off track. Students know how to get me pulled off track in class. I'm doing the same thing here right now. But what I wanted to share with you is, like I said, these YouTube videos that I've been creating, I'm really hoping, they're targeted specifically at teachers and students to be able to use in the classroom, because each video, again, has questions in the description. So I'm kind of hoping, you could use that in place of some of these reading bell ringer one day, or whatever, just something to mix it up, or something maybe you could use in class with the whole class. You can project it on the board and have them answer the questions as they're doing it. Now, what I was talking about is if you join that email list here. Students know how to get me pulled off. Shareable link here. Same thing here right now. Where'd it go? But what I wanted to share with you is, like I said, these YouTube I believe this is it. Hopefully I got the right thing. I'm really hoping targeted specifically at teachers. This is a link to should be a link to a Google slide presentation. Okay, this is my Google slide presentation just on the Civil War. And let me go ahead and change views here real quick. Let's see. Let's go to monitor full screen. Okay, so here is my Google slide presentation that I created. And this is something that I'm really, really hoping that teachers can use in their classroom. Because what I've done here is I've taken like mine to all the Civil War videos that I did, which I know I did a ton, but I love Civil War history. That's the whole reason I teach American history, because I wanted to get to the Civil War. But if you look here, I've got the video itself, and then right below it, I've got the questions. And so if you wanted, you could just simply use that bell ringer, sheet that I already shared out, and just simply say, okay, go through and start answering these questions. And each day you can see there's 5 questions. Have them answer the 5 questions. Here's Monday's assignment. And what I would do if I were you is just go ahead and hit File and make a copy of this, so that way you can save it to your Google Drive. And then you can take it and say, okay, well, today I only want to do Fort Sumter. Okay, so I don't want to share this whole presentation with them. Or, as you're going through, this is kind of like your master set of all of the videos, and you can just kind of pick and choose and say, okay, I'm just going to, copy this one, and I'm going to put that into a Google slide presentation, and then maybe put it on Google Classroom, so that way the students have it just directly there. Another reason I did this is because, again, as well as I do, when students go to YouTube, and I know a lot of schools have YouTube blocked. If you're one of those schools that have it blocked, I'm sorry, because there's so many tools on YouTube you can use. But if your students can get to YouTube on their own, you can send them this presentation. And what this does too is when they go to the, they go to the present mode or whatever, when they get this, they have to go to present mode to be able to watch it. It cuts out all that side stuff, so that way now they aren't being distracted because there's a video of, I don't know, Donald Trump saying something or whatever, and they get distracted by that, and so they're going to watch that video instead. All right, so here they have it just kind of trimmed down to just simply, here's the video itself. And so, if I click on that video will start playing, and then that way, then they can go through and answer those questions. All right, so I'm hoping to do this with all of my videos, is go back and make little slide presentations basically of each unit that I cover. So like, I need to go back, and I've got a bunch of videos about the Constitution, but that way you could say at the beginning of class, okay, today we're doing Article 2, Section 1, and here's the video that goes about Article 2, Section 1. And so that way then they got their background information about it, and then you can move on from there into whatever activity you're wanting to do. So again, I'm hoping this little slide presentation can be useful to people. Someone's asking about World War I. Unfortunately, my class, like right now, my big goal for this is, let me switch back over here because I feel weird just talking to an empty screen. There we go. Someone was asking about World War I. My big goal for this is to cover what I covered in my class for my curriculum, because here's the deal right now. I've got a teacher who's coming in at the beginning of this next year who has never taught American history before. She's been teaching for 20 years but has never taught American history, and she is petrified. And so one of the big reasons why I started making these videos was to help her out quite a bit. And so what I need to do is, right now I'm going back, and I just started back at Jamestown, and I started back at the early colonies, and I got to work my way back up to where I started at, which was basically the Declaration of Independence was one of my very, very first videos. And so I got to work my way back up to that before then I can move on into Reconstruction and eventually getting to World War I and stuff. I really want to, but it may be a little while before I get to that point. So eventually, I do want to get to World War I, but for right now, I've got to hit from Jamestown through the Civil War, because that's the curriculum that I'm really wanting to cover to help out the teacher in my district that's going to be, actually there's 2 teachers that are going to be taking on that position that really needs some extra help. So that's kind of the focus right now for me, is I'm wanting to share this with teachers everywhere, but at the same time, I've got 2 teachers in mind that I'm like, I've got to help out these 2 teachers as well, to kind of have an understanding of what they need to do. Now, one more thing here, and I appreciate you guys watching and listening, and I apologize if I've just kind of been everywhere. Hopefully everybody's got kind of a general idea of what I was getting at with my website and everything. I really feel like this is something that can be used even if you're not one-to-one. I mean, you can admittedly just simply, write those questions on the board, give the kids a piece of paper, and as long as you have some way to project your, questions or whatever, or a reading or whatever on the board, you might be able to make it work that way. Also, if you're doing a blended classroom where you're, again, which some of us may be in that situation come fall. Uh, if you're having a class where it's like you're only meeting one day and then one day you're not here, you still could consistently have those bell ringers. So each day it's kind of like, hey, you know, I know you're not going to be here tomorrow, but tomorrow I want you to read this little, article about whatever, and then come back on Wednesday. And I realize it's, it's just basically a homework assignment, but it might be a different way to organize it. Two, like the bell ringer videos that I've been sharing, it might be a possibility of, kind of doing a almost flipped classroom in that, if students, you're going to see them on Monday and you're not going to see them again till Wednesday because, you're doing that weird blended whatever learning, then you could say, okay, I want you to watch these two bell ringer videos, which are going to cover the main content of what I would have covered in class. And then now you can come into class and we can actually do this activity that I would have had to have taken that day in between to just simply cover the general content. So I think you could use it that way. So like I said, even though this is all designed to be like in a one-to-one classroom and in-person learning, at least that's the way I've used it in the past, I feel like the way I set things up already in my classroom, it was all accessible online anyway. It wasn't a big stretch for me to move to online learning. And I guess a personal note of my own, I'm really nervous about this next year, and I know all of you guys are nervous too about this next year of what's going to happen with school, because it almost seems like to me what's being talked about is teachers teaching in the classroom and teaching online at the same time, and that's going to be, I mean, that's asking a lot, because you know as well as I do, teaching the online, isn't, you may not have to deal with the discipline problems in person, but it's like you got to do almost so much more legwork to get all that online stuff going that it's really frustrating. And I'm hoping, I I feel like, what I've started offering here on YouTube could possibly be a resource that could really, save you some time, and hopefully, be something that could help you out moving into this, wherever we're moving into here in the future of education. So again, hopefully that helps out. So I guess if there's not any questions or anything, that was really what I wanted to share with you, was kind of that beginning of class. I might do a few more of these live streams in the future, like talking about, I was thinking to myself, timeline assignments that I'd done in class, maybe sharing some ideas about how to do a timeline assignment. And like I said before, I'm not the greatest teacher. Okay, ask my students that were in class; they know I was not the greatest teacher ever. But I feel like, I have some ideas to share. And the unfortunate thing is, oh, Kim, yeah, welcome to the club. I'm in Illinois as well, and so yeah, we're both sitting here on pins and needles, wondering what in the world we're going to do this next year. But so many times teachers don't have the opportunity to go into another teacher's classroom and see how they're doing things. It's like they'll hear from the students like, oh, Mrs. Smith did this great, whatever in her class, and you're like, wow, I'd love to go see that, but I've got to teach, you know, third period through seventh period. I can't get out of my classroom to be able to go see what she's doing in her classroom. So I was hoping, just by sharing this is just, I'm a teacher sharing what I do in my class with other teachers. So that way, hopefully, you might get an idea. If you didn't get an idea, if you just looked at this and be like, wow, that's a lot of work, that's maybe not, maybe not for you. That's okay. But like I said, this is what worked for me, and I felt like students were engaged in it and did well with it, and actually learned when we were doing these, bell ringer videos, or no, I'm sorry, bell ringer activities at the beginning of class. So again, like I said, I'll go ahead and post it or share it one more time here. Well, I'll share first. I'll share. No, apparently, oops. You want to block me out here. Um, Let me share here real quickly as I'm kind of tying things up here. Here is. Here is my email address if you want to email me. And then two, here is the email list sign up as I was talking about before, because I think that could possibly help people out as well if you want to sign up for that. I'll kind of update you when I got new videos coming out. Also, the nice thing, if you sign up for the email list, I usually like try to say, okay, here's the next 3 videos I'm going to be making. So that way you've got an idea. Oh, hey, I know next week I'm going to be covering this. He should have a video out by then about this, and hopefully, 6 months from now, I'm gonna have a good library of videos out here that way you don't have to like wonder and be like, oh, I hope he makes a video about uh, Jackson's presidency or whatever. So just be patient, and eventually I'll get more of those out there. So again, there's a couple more links there that might help you out if you're looking for something. So I guess, yeah, again, if there's no more questions or anything here, I really appreciate you guys stopping in and listening to me yak for a while. It's kind of nice to actually get to somewhat kind of talk to somebody. I've been in lockdown here for a while, and those of you, for others from Illinois, know that we've been kind of dealing with, seems like sometimes more lockdown than other states. So anyway, again, thank you very much, and if you got any questions, just email me. And again, I'll look for that top 10 reasons. I need to find the link to that. I think I've got that in the, if I get into the editing of that website. So if there's no other questions, I'm going to sign off here. And again, thank you very much for watching. And I hope you continue looking for more bell ringers as I'm putting them out. And hopefully, I realize right now it's